Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Siva. As you can see, Siva Somasundram. You can call me Siva. I've been looking after the education and training sector at UKTI Kuala Lumpur for the last 11 years. And Malaysia is one of the priority markets for UK as far as business is concerned in education and training. Okay. Now that's Malaysia over there. It's divided into two, East Malaysia, West Malaysia, but the government prefer to call it Malaysia, or some of them they will call it Borneo over there. You can see Malaysia is located in an area, in a location where some of the fastest growing economies are, China, India. The other which is fastest growing is Indonesia at the moment. And of course, you have Singapore next door to Malaysia at the bottom. This is more detail. Most of the activities or businesses are in the other side, Peninsular Malaysia, the west coast of Peninsular Malaysia. That's where most of the businesses take place. The eastern side of the peninsula, that's oil and gas industries mainly. Close up. Some of you may have heard of the economic development corridors. Iskandar, Malaysia, which is situated right at the bottom there in Johor. At the moment, it's attracting quite a lot of investment from overseas, as well as branch campuses, schools, and all these are setting up there. The main attraction for that is because it's next to Singapore. This is the Malaysian Prime Minister. I'll talk to you a bit about the racial breakdown, race, religion. These are the three main races, Bumiputra, who are predominantly Malays, 65% of the population are Bumiputras, 26 Chinese, and Indian 8. The Indians are mainly from South India, Tamil and all that. The others are Portuguese and other races. Okay. Most of the economic activities, businesses and all these are controlled by the Chinese. Okay. Later you will find out why Malaysia is growing quite fast because of this population ratio. We were at one time quite fearful about the way China was growing, but towards the end of it, Malaysia's trade with China actually grew by 4 to 5 folds. The reason for that is through the Chinese in Malaysia, they were able to do better business with China. The same way the Indians brought businesses from India and all this, and helped to grow Malaysia. The Malaysian economy, we have this 5-year plan, or what they call it, Malaysia plan. Currently, it's the 10th Malaysia plan. This is from 2011 to 2015. The reason they have this Malaysia plan is they want to become a developed nation by the year 2020, or what they call Vision 2020. So in order to achieve this, they have these blocks of a 5-year plan. And the government monitors very closely to make sure each year all these, whatever plans or whatever strategy they have are achieved within the time. So you can see what is a household, a household income, and the plan is to increase the earnings of the Malaysians. Of course, to do this, you have to train, retrain, and make sure that all the workers have some sort of a qualification. And the GDP growth, in order Malaysia to achieve the Vision 2020, they feel that the GDP growth have to be 6 to 6.2% or something. So that is how the GDP growth has been so far. But the government is confident by 2020 it should be fine and they will be able to achieve it. So you can, at the bottom, you can see the allocation for education and training, 54.6 billion. That's roughly about 10 billion pounds. In fact, a quarter of the annual budget each year is for the education sector. That's the inflation in Malaysia. Under the government's National Transformation Program, you can see what are the areas they're focusing on: economic, political, digital, community, and social transformation. Okay. And compared to a lot of Asian countries, we have quite a low unemployment issues. These are the key sectors what the government is focusing on. Okay. And we have actually set up 5 corridors in Malaysia, economic corridors, where a lot of these economic activities take place. And there are also benefits for foreign companies who want to set up within these corridors. For example, you get tax incentives. They will also help you identify local partners where if you want to open up a company or institution, all those things that the economic development authorities, they will help you with this for each of it. The fastest growing economic corridor at the moment is the one right at the bottom there, called Iskandar region. The main, as I told you just now, the main reason the Iskandar region is developing fast is because it's next to Singapore. And some of the British organizations who have set up in the green zone there is Dyson. You have Newcastle University, which is going to be 2 years now. They have set up their branch campus there. Southampton engineering programs, they also set up in the education hub of the Iskandar. In about a year's time, you will have Reading University. Epsom, about a year ago, they opened up, and they're very happy that they opened up there. The student number is more than what they expected. Quite a number of students come from the neighboring country, Singapore. Okay. The other economic region which is growing fast is the one right at the top there, Northern Corridor. Okay. The one more region which the government is going to invest quite heavily over the next 4 to 5 years and attract foreign investment is Sabah, Sabah Development Corridor. Okay. And they are planning to have an event, I think in about 3 or 4 months' time, to promote, to attract and promote investment into the region, and they will also let you know what are the incentives they are willing to give and all this, So if anybody interested to participate, get more information about it, please get in touch with me. Okay. This is the UK-Malaysia trade. As you can see, one of the Malaysia is one of the priority country for UK, worth about 280 million a year. That's how much UK makes from Malaysia in the education sector. Currently, I'll show you later, currently there are about 15,000 Malaysian students who are studying in UK, and another 58,000 in Malaysia doing UK programs. These are some of the British companies operating in Malaysia: Dyson, Shell, Standard Chartered. Malaysian investment into UK, the biggest, I think in 2012, was the Battersea Power Station. The township is going to be developed by the Malaysian company, a consortium of 3 companies from Malaysia. Why do business in Malaysia? Long established relationship between UK and Malaysia through education, similar government legal system. Of course, we always encourage whenever we give briefing to trade mission, talk something about football and the conversation will go miles, Okay. You don't have problem with IT, roads, airports and all these things. We also have a strong British chamber called BMCC, British Malaysia Chamber of Commerce. Within the ASEAN region or all Southeast Asian nations, Malaysia has got very good influence and one of the fastest apart from Singapore, So if you want to penetrate the ASEAN regions, most of the companies either set up their office in Singapore or Malaysia, and from there they penetrate the other countries. And as I told you just now, strategically located, if you want to do business with China, India, and Indonesia, because of the population ratio, there are Indians, if you want to do business in India, through the Indians in Malaysia. And if you want to do business in China, some of the, 26% of the population are Chinese, originally came from China. So a lot of British companies find it much more better to go through from Malaysia and then do business in China through the Chinese there. And then with Indonesia and all that, you get the Malays, who are 60% of the population, get it done there. English is widely spoken, so you don't have much of a problem whenever you are discussing business and all that things. Okay? And very often, when you are having a meeting or something, at least there will be one person who has either done a UK-related programs or studied in UK, both in the government as well as in the private sector. And that makes it easy for you to discuss business there. And as you can see, 47% of the women population are in the Malaysian economy. In fact, I think about, and we have regular women's summit and things like that. I think a few countries in the world to have a ministry called Ministry of Women, Family and Community Development, specifically looking into the welfare and whatever the needs are for women in Malaysia. These are some of the key methods of doing business in Malaysia. You have to be a bit patient when you are doing business in Malaysia. Very often I advise companies, after you had a discussion with a company or something, make sure you do a summary of what the discussion was all about, and then work out some action plans and timeline for each of the action. And send this within a week of the discussion, and you want to follow up with a phone call to find out whether they have received it and how going to take this forward. You find it that way, things will move much faster. I told you just now the number of students, how much UK makes from Malaysia on the education. The reason some of the universities are setting up branch campus in Malaysia is Malaysia is fast becoming an education hub for the ASEAN region, the all Southeast Asian nations. And they feel that having a campus there, they will be able to attract students not only within Malaysia, but all the neighboring countries. Apart from that, they also attract students from Muslim countries, like Saudi and all that. They prefer to send their kids to Malaysia because of the the cultural background, and they are quite relaxed about their lifestyle and all these things. As you see, this is the aim of Malaysia to become an education hub. Currently, they have about 114,000 foreign students, and they want to increase to 200,000 by the year 2020. These are the business opportunities. Currently, a number of British organizations have set up companies providing products and services related to the teaching and learning of English language. In fact, British Council, just about 2 months ago, they won a big contract from the Malaysian government to supply English teachers. So they brought in the teachers from UK to Malaysia, as well as to improve the teaching and learning of English language. In the public schools, all the subjects taught in the national language, which is Bahasa Malaysia, or Malay. So English is just as a single subject on its own. The other area where there's a big demand is skills training, especially at the technician level, in various sectors, building, service sectors, and all these things. So if you're into skills training and all that, you want to look up for some of the programs. I'll show you some of the programs some of the events that are happening in Malaysia, participate in it, and promote your expertise or the awards you have related to skills training. There are also demand for preschool teachers. Currently, a lot of the teachers are up to certificate or diploma level, and they have encouraged the teachers to take up degree programs. And apart from that, under the current 10th Malaysia plan, they are also planning to set up a number of preschool and childcare centers. E-learning and online learning, what at the moment is the way this is provided is what they call blended learning. Part of it is face-to-face, and the others is by e-learning. And that is what we would encourage for the time being. I'm sure with the younger kids in schools nowadays, they will be more receptive to completely everything in e-learning. These are some of the leading events. I bring in every year about 4 to 5. You would have seen the Malaysian delegates over there. S.E.Asia, Mark will be talking in a few minutes' time about it. Also bring in delegates to the education show. Another big event in Malaysia is a UK Education Fair organized by the British Council. You get about 80 over universities exhibiting. This is mainly to recruit students. London Book Fair, TVET UK, they're planning to bring a trade mission. This is more to do with the vocational skills training. And they have recently tied up an MOU with some of the vocational bodies in Malaysia. Training Gateway, they are planning to bring a trade mission in June this year. So if anybody is thinking of coming over, you may, and the focus of that will be mainly corporate trainings. And another big event apart from S.E.Asia is BS Asia Forum and Exhibition. We just had one in November, about 55 British exhibitors were there. The products and services are mainly for school sector, primary, secondary, preschools and all that. and it went on very well. And about 12 countries from Asia, they bring in buyers to that event. That means officers like me, commercial officers, they bring in, So this year we are planning to have it in November. And you do get TAP funding for this. If you're a new company, last year they got £3,000. And if you're coming for the second, third time, then it's £2,500. These are some of the websites. I'll give you a copy of it if you want later.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. Appreciate it's a lot to see and do today. So I hope that in the few minutes that I have, I'll be able to give you some useful and helpful information. My name is Mark Roelofsen. I'm a director of Method International. And Method International is a company that delivers events and conferences largely within the education sector for clients both in the UK and overseas. And what I'm going to be doing in the short time I've got available is focusing on two areas. One, how we've worked with UKTI to develop our business, IPSEF, in Malaysia, and then a little bit about IPSEF itself, which could be a useful platform for you maybe for developing your business, not just in Malaysia, but in Asia. IPSEF brings together four key stakeholders involved in international schools and private sector education. So that's the investors in education. Education is increasingly a profit-making activity, and it is attracting considerable levels of investment from corporates and private equity. We also bring along governments because investors need to know the legislative environment in which they might set up in a country, and of course governments license, authorize, inspect, monitor schools. And then of course the schools themselves. It might be one individual school that's thinking of setting up another branch either within Malaysia or in Asia. It might be a UK school thinking about setting up a branch overseas. We also attract the school groups who have a network of schools across the world. And then the suppliers. So anybody who is supplying or would be involved in a new school project, whether it's finance, architecture, equipment, and so on. So what we have done with UKTI may be a model for yourself. We are a small company. IPSEF is our own event, and we face the same challenges as any company embarking on export. We started, or we thought we would start by launching IPSEF on a beautiful Malaysian beach resort, and that the whole world would come beating a path to our beach. It was entirely unrealistic. We didn't have the time, the money, or the resources, or the local contacts to do that. So what we actually did was launched it on a damp, wet November in London. And we did that in 2009, and we got a couple of those under our belt, and we eventually decided to return to our original vision, which was to look at Malaysia. And as is very often the case in business, one's gut instinct proved to be correct. And we undertook a lot of research, and for many of the reasons that Siva's explained, Malaysia, our gut instinct proved to be correct. The legislation from the government was changing, which made it easier for schools to set up in Malaysia. It was growing economically, and like consumers anywhere, as they get wealthier, they wanted choices in education as much as they do in consumer goods and cars and so on. The diverse population, which Steve has already mentioned, and the strong UK educational links. So that was the tick boxing, if you like. So what we decided to do was to go a little bit more professional than our gut, and we approached Siva, who we'd known for many years in various guises, and we've been picking his brain for years when he's come over on trade missions and so on. And we commissioned from Siva an OMIS, which is, I can't remember what it stands for, but it's like local market research. And eventually that research was returned to us, containing very valuable insights in terms of local contacts, contacts in governments, venues that we might hold the conference, and potential speakers. But most importantly, a visit program. So my co-director, Rona Greenhill, went out and accompanied Siva, making a lot of appointments and meeting people. And she returned very enthusiastically and encouraged to do a draft program, which we did, circulated, researched that with potential visitors and schools, and then we launched the event in March 2012, and it was opened by the British High Commissioner and also, I think, the Deputy Director of Education. And of course, things like that wouldn't have been possible without UKTI's support. Once we delivered it, Siva had seen it. Others in the High Commission could see the value of this for UK PLC because we attract and identify business for architects and recruiters and all sorts of IT suppliers and all sorts of people in the community. He felt that what we needed was a local partner, and he introduced us to a company called Mint Communications, who operate in the education events sector, but in a complementary area. And we've now got a relationship with Mint. We worked with them for the first time last year, and we're still working with them for our event in March. So the relationship with UKTI has been extremely productive and helpful, and we would expect to use that and maintain those links in the future, even if we could become, as we are, more established. And that model of working with UKTI is one that we replicate wherever we run the event. So we run IPSEF also in the Middle East, and we've also run one in Hong Kong, where we actually held one of our 2 days of fora actually at the Consulate General in Hong Kong, and that was because we were attracting government people, and it gave credibility and substance to the event. So there's Mint, very happy bunch of ladies who are a pleasure to work with and very thorough, excellent English, excellent contacts in education. So a little bit now, I think I've got a few minutes left to talk a little bit about IPSEF and how it might be helpful. First of all, the market has grown enormously, not just in Malaysia, but across Asia, and in particular the Malaysian Peninsula. These figures from ISC Research, who know all there is to know about international schools, show that the growth has been quite phenomenal in the last decade or so. And I think their predictions are that it's probably going to sort of double in the next sort of 20 years or so. So it's a very substantial area of business. There's plenty of business for schools to set up for all the reasons. Diane here is at the front, so if anybody wants to, you want to just put your hand up. So if anybody wants to speak to Diane about an ISC, she's here to do that. We attract senior people. The gentleman on the left is Mark Hensman, who is the head of Harrow School in Bangkok, and he's been our chair at IPSEF for a couple of years. And this year it's going to be the gentleman on the right, who's Bob Pick, who is the founding master of Marlborough College, Malaysia. So we attract very senior people from not just UK schools, but also local school groups. So today I actually had a booking for IPSEF from a school group in India, which has 54 schools and 3,500 pupils. So people do travel, and they find that the networking with their other heads and their business development managers very significant and helpful. You can use it to find local partners. You can sell directly to the schools. You can ask the schools who supplies them. So if you're looking for a distributor, get to know these people. Do your research. Now, we've done research on the stats, but you'll be looking for distributors in a way we have. So that's a very productive use of the event. And also, you'll be there with the people who are planning schools. So as you all know, it's always good to know what business might accrue in the future, and because of the relationships, you're in a good position to do that. Doing business with the private sector, of course. If you're selling into an independent or an international school group, much less bureaucracy, less time, stress than dealing with government procurement and tenders. So there's always an advantage for that. The event also attracts UKTI grants, what those of us who've been in this for a long time called travel grants, but they're called something else now, MAP grant, don't know what it stands for, but that's over £500 for you to attend, and that's, again, showing the support that the event has from UKTI. And of course, it's very important, as I don't need to say this, business is about relationships. So there's just a few pictures there to give you a flavour of what it is. I think the top left is an architect talking about probably the school plans for either Epsom College or Marlborough or something like that. Lots of dialogue, interaction, get to know people. And I hope that that's given you a flavour of what doing business in Malaysia is all about. And I'm around afterwards if you have any questions. Thank you.